Hello, 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 everybody. This is Tyson Bradley, and you're listening to the Inherent Identity Podcast. This is the place where who you want to be is who you really are. And that means if you've got dreams to build businesses, to create amazing relationships, to have amazing health, to do all the things that you want to do with your life, all the skills, all the abilities, all the resources, all the people that you need, the direction, whatever it is, it's within you. It's already there, available. And the problem is that we just don't remember who we really are. Now, in this episode, I'm going to teach you the process that I teach my clients. And this process is so powerful. And every time that I have a conversation with God or with Christ, He keeps pointing me back to the process that we've created together. And it works and it helps me. And it is a way and a lens in which I can view the world to help me create the life I want to live. And so I don't know. Here's what's funny is like I don't really know even what I shared last week. I don't know what I shared last week with you guys. And there might be some overlap. I might share the same thing twice. And you know what? I just want to provide an example to all of you who might be building businesses, who might be doing things that, you know what? You might feel the desire. You might feel impressed to share the same stinking thing twice. And that's exactly what needs to happen because someone might not listen to that first one, but they listen to the next one. And of course, I'd recommend you listen to all my podcasts because probably good stuff in there. And so, in this to say, I just want to give you permission to do what you would like to do with your business and in some of the things in your life. So, anyways, let me just dive into the process. Don't need to chatter about too many things. When I listen to podcasts, I love just getting into it and hearing it. So that way you don't have to press any skip button, you know? You don't have to skip me, friends. Just let's dive in. All right. So the acronym for this process is I am me. I am me. And I'm going to go through each of these letters, tell you what they mean, tell you how to use this framework to change every aspect of your life. Any habit that you want to create, this is the best way that I have ever found and ever experimented with. And I have been doing all this help stuff for over 10, 12 years. It's a while of reading books, joining groups, doing a bunch of things. Okay. So I don't say this lightly. This stuff works. It's helping my clients do things that they never thought they would be able to do in faster time. So if you want to change in less time and with less effort, if you would like to change quickly, change easily, then I'd recommend you continue to listen to this podcast and that you continue and actually apply what I'm going to share with you now, and that you share this podcast with anyone else who is struggling to change something in their life, whether it is the habit of negative thinking, whether it is the habit of unhealthy eating, whether it's the habit of not being able to get clients or market in a way that's really helpful, whatever the unhelpful action is, or whatever the action that you want to take, like being able to plan or wake up early in the morning or exercise every day, whatever it is that you do want to do that you struggle with doing, this will apply. And this is the process. This would be the podcast that you share with them so that they can try it out and see the magic happen. And if you don't see the magic happen, then it either means you need to listen to more of this podcast, re-listen to it, or it means you need further help and clarification that is customized to you, in which you would join my group, in which you would join and receive that extra coaching from someone who knows and has gone through the process and can give you that needed insight that will help you make this process work. But in my mind, I was able to share it briefly with a group of people just 2 weeks ago. And within a week, someone had made changes that they thought were so profound and so amazing. So I can tell you that this will work for you. Okay, so you ready to listen? Let's do this. I am me. The first letter is I, and it stands for ideal. And what you want to do is you want to think about what you would love to experience. What is the ideal in any given situation? So let me give you an example. One of my ideals is that I be a patient father. Like, my ideal experience with my kids is that I show up to them with love, and that I show up to them with that I'm not trying to rush them, that I'm able to not get frustrated. I don't want to get frustrated. I don't want to yell at them. I just want to love on them and help them to do the things that will make them happy, like go to bed or like clean the table or do the dishes or help around the house, contribute to this family. There are things that I want them to do, yes. And there are things that I want them to experience. And I want them to not talk bad about themselves. It's like I've already got a 7-year-old who's saying negative things about herself. So it's like I want to be the kind of dad that's patient and then helps her to recognize who she really is. That she's a daughter of God, that she is like this amazing being. So I have this ideal, and the ideal is to not get frustrated. And the ideal is to build a great relationship with my children. So that's the I. What would you love? And I like to use that question instead of like, what do you want? Because that's normally what we say. And there's this thing about wanting something that says to me that it just reminds you of what you don't already have. And although the question is like, what would be ideal or what would you love is similar, I feel like it's different enough and it means something different that it's available to you and that it's just part of what would resonate with your life. What would you love? Like, what would just spark joy within you? So use those questions to determine what you're wanting to change and what would be ideal. What would be ideal? What would be the ideal experience of you and your health? What would be the ideal experience of you with your business? What would be the ideal experience of you with your family? What is it? Write it out. You must write this down. This isn't a passive thinking activity, although I do think about the ideal a lot, and I'd encourage you to do the same. But I want you, if you're serious about changing something, you need to write down your ideal. Okay? Okay, now we're on to the next letter. It's A. A stands for amplify. You take your ideal that you've written down and then you amplify it 10 times the vision and the dream of it. So if I were to 10x my experience with my children, where I don't get frustrated, but I show up with love, what would that 10x dream look like? Well, the 10x dream would look like is that when they walk in the room, I light up and I see them, and it's instant love, instant joy, instant presence. What I would love to experience is that when I'm with them, that I am with them in my heart and my mind and my soul, that we're connecting, that we're, and that when they get upset, that I don't get upset. That my 10x dream is that I'm able to calmly address what they're doing, that I don't think all these thoughts of you should be this way or you should be that way. I wish you wouldn't yell at your sister. I wish you wouldn't be this way. But that I'm just accepting of whatever's going on, and that I'm able to help them in that moment to either calm down, to connect with who they really are, to feel their emotions, to accept those emotions, to understand themselves, to understand this human experience. See, the reason why Amplify is a step is because so often when we think about the ideal, it's like piddly. It's just so ridiculously small what we envision for ourselves. We're just like, okay, we want a business. We're like, yeah, I want to make $100,000. That's like the marker that everybody says to make. If I can make six figures, then it's like, that's a sustainable life. And okay, cool. Yeah, what's the 10x dream of that? Well, if we go with a literal 10x amplification, it is a million. 10 times 100,000, it's a million. Okay, that's nice. What if it was that? What if that was the dream? What if it was $1 million business? What if it was a super abundant, more than enough? What if we, instead of just thinking of, I've got 12 loaves of bread and I have 5,000 people, that, okay, ideally I'd be able to feed maybe 50 people with that amount of bread. And what Christ does, he's like, no, not 50, 5,000. Oh yeah, and not only that, but afterwards we're going to have some to spare. I remember one of my clients saying this, like, God is super abundant. And I was like, oh, I love that. He's not just abundant, he's super abundant, overly abundant. There is plenty and to spare, more than enough for everyone. For everyone. We don't have to play the zero sum game. We don't have to play the game where it's like, if I get more and they spend money on me, then they won't have as much and there won't be as much. No, that's not how life works. That's not how God works. In God's economy, it's like when we give value and we help people, then we get more and they get more and we all get more and there's plenty and there's super abundance. So I want you to amplify your ideal. 10x the dream. Make it wild and crazy and exciting. Because when you do that, you'll notice something. You'll notice that your heart starts to get engaged. You'll notice that your heart starts to go on fire because it's like, this sounds so much fun. Sounds like amazing. This is a higher and more aligned communication of what I want with my life than anything else, is to imagine a 10x dream. Just imagine the most beautiful thing ever. And so often, so many people, all the people that I'm working with, like, they just don't dream big enough and they don't describe it. They don't write it down. So write down your ideal, amplify that ideal. Okay. So that's the A. And then M, the first M, I am, stands for movement. And by movement, what I mean is, what is the action that you would need to take in order to fulfill that amplified ideal? What actions? Just write them out, bullet point them out. Well, if I wanted to be patient with my kids, if I wanted to have instant love with them, then one of the things I need to do is I need to stop thinking about what I want. Because one of the big problems that I have as I live through each day is that the parts where I get most frustrated is when I'm thinking so much about what I want to do, that when a little kid interrupts me, then I think, oh, it's like they're interrupting. Like, I want to do this thing, but they're interrupting. They're causing me to not be able to focus on what I really want. And so that's a thing. And there's also, what do I need to do? I need to stop thinking that they should be different than who they are. I need to stop thinking that in the moments where they're shouting at each other that things should be different. I need to um, be more present. I need to play with them. I need to, when they do enter the room, I need to smile or I want to smile. Like these are the actions that are in alignment with that kind of ideal. If I do those things, I know that that's more of the ideal, that amplified ideal that I will create. And so once I kind of bullet point all these actions out, the movement involved in creating this amplified ideal, then the next step, which is the next M in I am me, the next M is manifesto. And manifestos are these declarations. They are statements of who you want to be, what you want to stand for. And so the goal is to be able to take this action and to take this ideal and to craft it into an identity statement and a manifesto. And it's structured like this. You say, I am, fill in the blank. And then the next sentence is I do, or it's just like an action of that thing. And I will tell you that making these statements, it can be really fun. And I encourage all my clients to make it fun, make it something that you enjoy and that resonates with you, because this step is it is the combination, it is the bringing together of everything so that you can live into that ideal. Because what you want and who you want to be is who you really are. So the reason why we get into the ideal, the reason why we amplify it is because that is a peek into who you really are. That is just a smidgen of what you're capable of who this spiritual being inside you is inherently. I think it was described that's like the heaven and the celestial kingdom, like being with God, is just a million times more great than we could ever imagine, that we just can't even fathom it. We can't even think about it. And so for us to just step into this ideal and to amplify it, like that is just scratching the surface as to what's possible and to what's really within us and to who we really are. And so to be able to create a statement that just puts this amplified ideal and who we want to be and what we want to do with our lives into words, that is the key. So we create this manifesto. And for me, I went through iterations, and you might go through iterations. And what makes this process fun is that it can continue to evolve, and I want it to evolve. I encourage you to continually evolve these statements until they resonate so well with you that you just can't imagine saying or thinking anything better about yourself and about what you want to do. So at first, when I was first creating the statement of like, at first it was, I am patient, because that's what I wanted to be. And I found that I wasn't being patient. And then I added like the action statement, which is like, I am patient. I don't get frustrated with my kids, something like that. And I was like, okay, this isn't working. And so then I created a statement that was like, I am a calm connector. And I breathe and ask, what would love do? So that was pretty clear. It was pretty awesome. And I encourage you to make these statements really clear and actionable, because the moment you do the action of breathing uh, and asking what would love do, that acts as a place where you can reinforce and reiterate to yourself, yeah, I do that thing. I breathe before I speak to my kids. I take a breath and I ask what would love do in these situations. When I do that, I reinforce this identity of I am a calm connector. And so I was doing that. I was like, oh, that's not really working either. And so around this time, I was reading the parable of the prodigal son. And if you haven't read that parable, I don't know what scripture it is, but you can Google it and read that account. But it's a beautiful experience where these two sons, one son leaves, and he asks his father for his inheritance, his share of the inheritance. The father lets him have it, and the son leaves. And it says that he spends all of his money on riotous living. So he's just partying it up with friends that aren't really his friends because he runs out of money, and then there's a famine in the land, and no one is there for him. He has to go. He like works for a farmer or something, and he's feeding the pigs, and there's a famine, and he's just like, man, I could just eat this slop that I'm feeding the pigs. And then I think it says in the scriptures that he came to himself and he realized that his father had servants and that those servants are eating better than he was. And he thought, I'll go back home. I'll go back home and I'll be a servant. So he goes back home, and his father sees him afar off and runs to him, kisses him. And his son is saying, I'm not worthy to be called your son, so make me a servant. And it's like the father totally dismisses. It's almost like he doesn't even address that. He just says to his servants, go get the finest robe, go get shoes for his feet, and go get him a ring and place it upon his finger. Now, there's a lot of significance and symbolism in this because to put a robe on and a ring and shoes, it's like, let's rip off the old identity and restore to him who he really is, which is my son. And so they do all this, and then he's like, oh yeah, go kill the fatted calf because we're going to celebrate. Because where once my son was dead, now he's alive. Where he was lost, now he is found. And so you bet we're going to celebrate because I thought that he was gone, but he's not. Now, this story and this parable touched me, and I love it so much. And in a way, I believe that this parable is how our Father in heaven views us. And this is the experience that he has. And this is our relationship to him, that we come and don't feel like we're worthy. And he comes and he restores the truth of who we are. He restores our identity. And he says, oh, and let's celebrate the fact that you are coming back to your senses. Let's celebrate that you have come back home to the truth. Let's celebrate who you really are, which is my son or my daughter. And so I was moved by this, and instead of being a calm connector, it's like I chose the phrase, I am prodigal papa. And my action is like, I watch with love and restore identity daily. So that's what I do. I watch my kids with love. And when they've forgotten who they really are, when they are acting up and we're doing things that aren't really helpful, I try and remind them of who they really are. I restore that identity to them because I know that if I keep doing that, that they will change, that they will live into being who they really are, which is beautiful, amazing, talented, successful beings. And they've always been that way, and they will be that way. And so that's the phrase. That's the manifesto that I created. And it came over time, and it was an evolvement, and I just used different words, and it could evolve further still. But the point is that I've captured the ideal. I've learned and pondered and thought about what that amplified ideal looks like. And I've thought about the actions that I want to take, how I want to show up to my kids, and I've crafted it into a statement that says, I am prodigal papa. I watch with love and restore identity daily. That's what I do. It's who I am. That's what I do. Every time I do this thing, I reinforce who I am. And the last step of this I am me framework and process is the E, and that stands for evoke. And what I mean when I say evoke is that you must repeat who you really are and not just repeat it as a rote repetition. This is not just saying affirmations. This is not just saying a mantra. This is about you stating who you really are and feeling it. There has to be emotion. There has to be this connection that when you say to yourself, I am prodigal papa, that you feel it, that you feel the truth of it, that you feel that this is actually who I really am. Now, as you create these statements, you may find at times that your brain wants to argue. It says, no, you're not. You are anything but prodigal papa. He is so perfect and so amazing, and you are so far from that. This is what my brain did with like patience. Like, you are not patient. And so I changed the words. I was just like, well, what's different words that mean the same thing of how I want to show up that resonate more with me? And so your brain will want to, at times, to debate and want to question and want to give you a bunch of chatter that says, no, this is not who you are. You are not a healthy person. You are not someone that shuns sugar. I am a sugar shunner. I say no to sweets. It's like, no, that's not who you are. And what I would invite you to do is I would just invite you to say a prayer. I'd invite you to say a prayer. I want you to ask God directly. So you might say, okay, I am prodigal papa. I watch with love and restore identity daily. It's like you might say that statement, and then you might just say, Heavenly Father, is like, is this who I really am? Is this true? Is this who I really am? Like on the inside, my heart, my spirit, like this part of me, this inherent self, is this who I really am? And I will bet you that 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time, that God will say yes, and you will feel it. And that's important because if God tells it to you, then it's true. And you can let go of all the chatter because God told you the truth. And the more that you remind yourself, the more that you remember who you really are, the less problems you'll have in life. The more of these statements you create. And I don't want you to think that you have to limit yourself, that you can keep creating statements, that you can keep like thinking like in the ideal way. If something happens in your life, it's not that ideal. You're just like, what's the ideal? How do I amplify it? What's the actions I need to take? What's the movement? What's the manifesto I can create? How can I evoke this right now? That you will start to see changes faster than you ever have before and with less effort. Because, a lot of the changes that we try and make, they are just filled with resistance. That our brains are just designed to like not want to change. They want to stay familiar, want to stay comfortable. But I'm telling you that this process of connecting to who you really are, of connecting to your heart, of connecting to this spirit that's always existed within you, when you do this, change becomes easy and effortless. And you will change faster than you ever thought was possible. And I'm so passionate about this that I'm writing a book about it. I'm so passionate about this, and I've seen it work for so many clients. I'm just like, you got to try this. You've got to try this. And you need to share it with other people too. Let them experience it. Let them listen to this and try it out. And then, as you try it out, I want you to email me. Email me. Talk to me. Send me a message. Find me on Instagram. Find me on Facebook. Send an email to tyson@entrepreneursofchrist.com. Or I think I'm going to create another one. It's like tyson@inherentidentity.com. So you can try those. All right. Send me a message. Find me. Talk to me. Tell me about your experience, because it has been my experience as well as my client's experience that this works. And you need to share it with other people who are struggling with changing. Okay. This will be the episode. Direct them to it. Make it happen. Let's keep sharing this message with as many people as we can, because we're helping people when we do. So if you love someone and you know that they struggle with changing a certain thing, have them listen to this. All right, my friends, I am me. Ideal, amplify, movement, manifesto, evoke. That is the way. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye.